How did a lethal street brawl in the 1500s start the thriving luxury watch industry we know today? A lot of the watch market is shrouded in mystery and secrets, but today we're looking deeper into the hidden story of the luxury watch industry and answering the question, why are watches really so expensive? The story of watches begins with Peter Henlein, an innovative and controversial craftsman born around 1485 in Nuremberg, Germany, a city renowned for its thriving manufacturing and commerce. But Peter's life in the city would be tragically disrupted when he was involved in a brawl that resulted in a death. He suddenly went from apprentice craftsman to fugitive, immediately needing to flee. He sought refuge in a local monastery. With the protection of the church, Peter was able to avoid legal repercussions like arrest and trial. It's unknown how long he stayed at the monastery, but his time there would eventually pave the way for Peter to change the world of timekeeping forever. At this time in medieval Europe, monasteries were the epicenters of knowledge, where you could find extensive libraries filled with manuscripts on anything from science and engineering to mechanics. Within the monastery walls, Peter delved into studying existing clock mechanisms and the latest advancements in engineering. This period of uninterrupted study and experimentation was the pivotal moment for deepening his understanding of clock mechanisms. Within monastic life, you have to follow a strict routine. Usually, this includes periods of prayer, work, and study. This structured environment provided Peter with a disciplined schedule that allowed him to concentrate on his craft and block out external distractions. At the time, most clocks were incredibly clunky, usually found in church towers or mounted on walls. However, with his background in craftsmanship and surrounded by intellectual resources, Peter found the perfect conditions to refine his skills and experiment with something never seen before: a portable clock. After several years, Peter eventually left the monastery and returned back to Nuremberg with groundbreaking creations that quickly attracted attention. And this is when he introduced the world to what is considered one of the earliest portable watches ever created, the Nuremberg egg. A small portable clock that could be carried in a pocket or worn as a pendant. This timepiece was unlike anything the world had seen before, combining the precision of stationary clocks with the convenience of portability. From the moment Peter introduced the Nuremberg egg, it became a hit with the rich and powerful. To own a Nuremberg egg was not just about having a portable, functional clock, it was about owning a piece of cutting-edge technology. For the first time in history, people were owning watches and making them a symbol of their status and wealth. The one critical feature that made Peter's portable timepiece work was called a mainspring, the coiled strip of metal that stores energy and releases it gradually to drive the clock's gears and move the hands of the watch. It was a revolutionary leap from the big, weight-driven mechanisms of earlier clocks. But as groundbreaking as Peter's creations were, they would prove to have significant technical limitations. Peter's watches were often not accurate, bulky, and needed frequent manual winding. This led to another significant leap for the watch industry in the 17th century. The balance spring was introduced. This innovation controlled the release of energy from the mainspring, making watches far more consistent and accurate. And as the mechanical technology of watches advanced, so did their artistry. Watchmakers began to experiment with intricate designs, luxurious materials, and elaborate decorations. Enamel painting, engraving, and gem setting became common practice, transforming watches into exquisite pieces of wearable art. By the 18th century, pocket watches had firmly established themselves as status symbols. Owning a watch was a statement of sophistication and affluence. The wealthy would often commission bespoke pieces from renowned watchmakers to ensure that their timepieces were unique and reflective of their personal style. The materials used in luxury watches during the 18th century further emphasized their exclusivity. Cases were often crafted from gold, silver, or platinum. The dials were sometimes made from exotic materials like mother of pearl. These enhancements were not merely aesthetic, they all signaled the owner's taste and wealth. While pocket watches dominated the 18th century, the concept of wristwatches began to emerge towards the end of the century, primarily for women. Some of the first wristwatches ever recorded were created specifically for royalty. These custom pieces were commissioned by queens who wanted unique and opulent timepieces to reflect their grandeur. For example, one of the earliest known wristwatches was crafted by legendary watchmaker Abraham Louis Breguet for the Queen of Naples. These early creations would set the stage for the evolution of wristwatches into the mainstream. Enter the Industrial Revolution. The meticulous art of watchmaking would be forever transformed. The introduction of machinery and mass production techniques meant they could make more watches at a lower cost, and companies capitalized on this new era of watchmaking. With mass production, watches became more affordable for the average person. High-end pocket watches remained status symbols for the wealthy, but cheaper watches with simpler materials and mechanisms were now becoming available to the growing middle class. Now more people could own a watch, not just the rich. In the early 20th century, the skies grew darker as war loomed on the horizon. World War I would prove to have a profound impact on many aspects of life, including the watchmaking industry. The war created an urgent need for reliable and accessible timekeeping devices. Traditional pocket watches were impractical in the trenches, leading to the widespread adoption of wristwatches. These wristwatches were more convenient and allowed soldiers to easily check the time during combat. Watchmakers responded to this demand by producing rugged, durable wrist watches, specifically designed to withstand the harsh conditions of warfare. Soldiers eventually returned home after the war with a new appreciation for wristwatches. This helped transform the wristwatch from a largely feminine accessory into a staple for men and more accessible than ever before. Quickly recognizing the changing landscape of watchmaking, companies like Rolex capitalized on this trend. In 1926, Rolex introduced the Oyster, the world's first waterproof wristwatch. This groundbreaking design featured a sealed case, protecting the movement from dust and moisture. To prove this, Rolex orchestrated a brilliant marketing campaign. They enlisted a professional swimmer to wear the Oyster while attempting to swim the English Channel. After 10 hours in the cold, turbulent waters, the watch emerged in perfect working condition. This captured the world's attention. By aligning their product with extraordinary achievements and athletes, Rolex created an aspirational image that the public fell in love with. The Oyster was an immediate success, but Rolex didn't stop there. In 1931, they introduced the perpetual rotor, a self-winding mechanism that converts the motion of your wrist into energy to wind the watch. This eliminated the need for manual winding, making wristwatches even more convenient and reliable than ever before. As watchmaking progressed, the industry would face one of its greatest challenges in the 1970s. Seiko, a Japanese watch manufacturer, introduced the world's first quartz wristwatch.
Seiko pioneered quartz watches and today continues to expand the boundaries of timekeeping with the largest quartz collection in the world.
Quartz watches use a battery-powered quartz crystal to keep time, making them more accurate and cheaper to produce compared to traditional mechanical watches. This started the quartz crisis. Employment in the Swiss mechanical watch industry fell from 90,000 workers to 28,000, and many watchmakers went bankrupt. Despite the quartz crisis, and even the rise of smartwatches today, brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet continue to create luxury watches worth tens of thousands, and in some cases, millions of dollars. So the question is, why are some watches still so expensive? A Patek Philippe watch sold for $31 million at auction, making it the most expensive watch ever sold. A Rolex Daytona, once owned by Hollywood legend Paul Newman, fetched $17.8 million in 2017. Can its engineering marvel alone justify its price tag? Is it the glamour, nostalgia, or the sense of owning a status symbol? These questions highlight a deeper conversation about value and luxury. They compel us to look beyond the surface, to consider what truly makes these watches desirable. Is it a matter of exclusivity, of possessing something that few others can? Or is it about the artistry, the legacy, and the stories these timepieces tell? Throughout history, owning a luxury watch has been a way to display wealth and sophistication. Royalty, business magnates, and celebrities have long worn high-end timepieces. In more recent history, notable figures like influencers, rappers, and fictional characters like James Bond have been seen with luxury watches. Even presidents have carried on the connection between being high-profile and owning a high-end timepiece. JFK's Omega watch and Churchill's Breguet pocket watch both underscore this fact. These cultural associations all contribute to the allure and high value of luxury watches. They are not just timekeeping devices, but emblems of prestige and achievement. One of the other main reasons watches can fetch such high prices is because of the exceptional quality and craftsmanship that goes into their production. For example, an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak chronograph can have around 300 to 400 parts. Each component is meticulously designed and assembled by skilled artisans. These watchmakers undergo years of training and apprenticeships to master this craft, and the assembly process is painstaking and detailed, often done by hand. Another cost factor is the substantial investment in research and development needed. Companies like Rolex continuously invest in enhancing performance, durability, and the aesthetic appeal of their watch lines. These R&D efforts are time-consuming and expensive, and often get reflected in the final price tag. However, sometimes luxury watches are also made from high-quality, rare, and expensive materials. Brands use precious metals like gold, platinum, and even develop special blends of these metals. Rolex has its own proprietary blend of gold, for example. Using these materials not only adds to the aesthetic value, but also significantly increases the cost of production. Despite the justifiable reasons for their high prices, there is some controversy over the actual costs of making these watches. For example, it's estimated that the hard cost to build a steel Rolex could be anywhere from $800 to $1,000. That includes raw materials, labor, and manufacturing processes. However, the retail price of that same steel Rolex can easily exceed $10,000. This type of markup is common in luxury goods, where pricing based on a brand's prestige and the perception of exclusivity is significant. As a result, there's a deliberate dance of exclusivity and scarcity that leads to higher prices. Limited productions ensure that the supply never meets the overwhelming demand and creates an aura of exclusivity. For example, when you walk into a Rolex store, eager to purchase a brand new watch instead of a smooth transaction, you're met with a blunt reality that you can't. Most models are often sold out and have long waiting lists. And even if you are on a wait list, customers with a purchase history who have dropped thousands on other items get prioritized. It sounds absurd, but it's a calculated move, a cornerstone of the luxury watch industry. Brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet have turned this strategy into an art form. They dictate prices and create an aura of inaccessibility, ensuring their products are perceived as ultimate symbols of luxury. It's a system designed to filter out all but the most committed and affluent customers, reinforcing the watch's status as the pinnacle of luxury. This exclusivity is further intensified by a calculated imbalance between supply and demand. Iconic models, like the Patek Philippe Nautilus, are produced in tantalizingly limited quantities. This scarcity isn't accidental. It's a strategic move that drives enthusiasts into a frenzy. The result? A thriving grey market where desperation and impatience meet opportunity. Here, buyers willingly pay hefty premiums to bypass the wait. A Rolex Submariner, retailing for around $10,000, can easily fetch $15,000 or more on the grey market, purely because its immediate availability is a rare commodity. Prices on the grey market are highly volatile, swayed by trends, collector interest, and market speculation. For instance, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the grey market saw substantial price increases as production slowed and demand for luxury items surged. This dynamic is a double-edged sword for brands. When watches consistently sell for above retail prices on the grey market, it bolsters the brand's desirability and exclusivity. On the flip side, if grey market prices fall below retail, it can damage the brand's image, hinting at oversupply or dwindling demand. In response to some of these issues, brands have adopted strategic measures to protect their market position. Limiting production, tightening dealer agreements, and increasing direct-to-consumer sales are some tactics used to control distribution and maintain price integrity. Rolex, for example, has been known to closely monitor its distribution channels and limit supply to authorized dealers. This meticulous orchestration of supply and demand not only builds a mystique for these watches, but also sparks controversy, as critics argue that it veers into elitism. However, the imbalance between supply and demand also adds to one of the most attractive parts of luxury watch collecting: their investment value. Unlike most products that lose value the moment they're purchased, some watches tend to hold their worth remarkably well. In fact, the price of popular models and limited editions can skyrocket over time. The allure of buying a luxury watch as an investment is even further heightened by their potential to become cherished family heirlooms. A meticulously maintained watch can be passed down from parent to child, with each generation benefiting from its lasting value. From the very beginnings of the industry, watches have transcended their functional purpose of timekeeping. What makes a watch valuable is not its mere construction or functionality. It's being a symbol of status, timeless craftsmanship, and cultural significance.